what are the big trends to watch? I mean, as we round out 2022 and we start to look at 2023, what are the big trends in employee experience that you see on the horizon?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the biggest trends, obviously there's quite a lot. I mean, probably about 11 that we can talk about, but I'll focus on maybe about 3 of them. The first one is obviously the hybrid way of work, and it's shifting. It's shifting. It's not what it was 2 years ago. It's not what it was at the beginning of this year, just as an example. And it's one of those trends that are shaping the working environment so quickly that we constantly have to keep up. You know, as soon as you think you've got the best of that trend or you understand where it's going, it changes a little bit, right? And within the hybrid space, I mean, if you just look at just the remote working, there's subsets there, right? There's people, if we look at the South African context and globally, there's employees who've gone and emigrated. That's one subset of it that you need to deal with, especially if you're not a global company. How do you cater for that? And then there's employees who've semigrated, that is, have relocated from their original place of work and have gone and found themselves a space and taking advantage of the technology to be able to connect. So that's the one big trend that's continuously shaping how we work. The other trend is around employees waking up or being vocal about needing flexibility around how to structure their benefits. Because I think the pandemic, that's another gift that it's given us to really reflect at a human level, to reflect about yourself as an employee and what works and what doesn't work for you. And those days of where employees are content to say, oh, I've got medical aid and I can work it within these plans and I've got a pension fund and whatnot, or a provident fund, those days are slowly coming to an end. Employees want flexibility to say, what if I don't need medical aid for this point in time? What if I don't want a pension fund? What if I want to make my own decisions around that? And it circles around, the voice of the employee, Overlaying that, Sally, is the fact that with employees being more vocal or being more woke around who they are as human beings, and the fact that we are not robots when we go to work, is the role of the manager, right? What does it mean to manage an employee now? That's another trend. So there's 2 elements for me there that are key. We can either see it as a threat to say, does it mean we need to get rid of managers and have just a few? There's a study that says that by 2025, Sally, probably around 65% of what we consider today as managerial duties will be automated. What does that mean for the role of the manager? So we're either getting rid of managers or we rebrand or reimagine the role of a manager. And the manager does not become the traditional, you come in, you manage, you make sure that people go and leave, or whatever the case may be. Maybe the call has been for manager as coach, actually doing what you're supposed to do as a manager. So those, for me, are the 3 key trends that I think are quite important, that we'll see them becoming more and more prominent. And perhaps maybe we can sneak in a 4th one. And I'm saying this in no particular order. A 4th one is a key focus now. The call is growing louder and louder for companies to show tangible action and effort as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that has many subsets. That has many multiple subsets. One of the subsets of that is around how does corporate South Africa respond to gender-based violence or intimate partner violence? Because diversity, equity, and inclusion means employees must feel safe in the environment that they work in. How do we as corporate South Africa respond to that? And that's just a big, the DEI has multiple subsets. So those are the 4 key ones that I'd like to outline today.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on this, because I think what you've uncovered, there's a huge amount of really interesting content. So going back to the first one, when you were talking about the benefit stacks and looking at that, how do you see that rolling out? Do you think that's